The heart of Star Trek. I took it for granted again. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. Our theme today, the heart of Star Trek. I took it for granted again. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to all of our TTLers, and maybe you're new here in this experimental January of a new year and you're looking around for new things. Maybe you've come to stumble upon Trekland here or Tuesdays Live in your own way, so I'm just glad everybody's here with us. The heart of Star Trek, I took it for granted again. What I mean is, by now, I really hope everybody at least saw, if not jumped in as much as you were able, to the huge production. And I have to give props up here. This started so quietly that I got into it kind of late. But you know, over at the Trek Geeks, Bill and Dan hatched this idea for basically an old school, a Jerry Lewis style NBA telethon for partnering with one of our favorites, John Billingsley, who he will, knock off as Dr. Phil Phlox, old fat Phlox. But John is an amazing guy, and he's had a wonderful career, still does. But he's been devoting the last 3 or 4 years of his life to the Hollywood Food Coalition. There are so many great groups around trying to deal with food hunger and food deserts. And also, the Hollywood Food Coalition deals with waste. Namely, and where it began was all the caterers, all the craft service around Hollywood that were catering to all the locations, whether it was on stages or out in location, all those police procedurals got to go somewhere, that they threw away so much food, or they cooked X amount and didn't need it all. And one of the roots was not letting that food go to waste that night, or finding a way to preserve it for a day or so. But from that, since I think 1987, they have been serving every night. And now they partner with all kinds of other food units here in greater Los Angeles to share that food. They have their own kitchen and feed. So it's an amazing group. They've also come up with a structure for how they're organized, that they are, exporting to all food and otherwise charities and benefit group. But here's a way in January, everybody's feeling, the year's over, the holidays are over, new year, a new pandemic year, but is it fading? We hope so. Everybody's kind of restless. And, thanks to Dan and Bill, and thanks to partnering with Roddenberry, which was shown up in the face by my good buddy, John Champion, that you all know, from Trek Files, I hope, if not Mission Log and all the rest. And then David Livingston, who has been an open house guest from Portal 47, as if he needs that credit, who was great on contacting a lot of behind the scenes folks, because that's what this was. Over 60 Star Trek notables, not just actors, which is what I was glad to see. I mean, I'm glad to see the actors, but they reached out to writers and directors, and there were some special moments on this marathon, webathon, Saturday. It's called Trek Talks, Trek * Talks, so you could find it. And here's the thing, it's still there at trektalks.net. 8 hours. They started off with 2, then 4, then 6 half-hour panels. Some were solos, some were panels by subject. A lot of us were moderators. I did one of the center seat at about 1:30, 1:20, which was awesome. Had Gates in with us and Brian Volkweiss and the Tenutos. I swear we had 5 minutes, not 25 or 30 minutes. And of course, John was jumping in between panels to tell you a little bit more about Hollywood Food Coalition. So it was, and yeah, you might say that was kind of local Southern California, but it was somebody jumping up to make a statement, to make an impact. And good old Star Trek fandom rose to the occasion. And then at the end of the day, near the end of the day, there were different challenges. Jay Stobie's Galaxy, who's become a rising star in the do-good side of Star Trek here, as well as the background and canon side. Got to watch him spring up here the last 4 or 5 years. He was running, there were prize giveaways all through the day for trivia if you were watching the panels, and a trivia question coming out of the panels. So, and Earl Green, who does the tech, if you watch Mission Log, is their tech guru. He was running the tech for this amazing show, bringing everybody via Zoom, getting John in and out, just keeping the lights on and the show running, basically live TV for 8 hours. Anyways, the whole day was amazing. And the most amazing thing of all these people's good works, good intentions. At near the end of the day, Rod Roddenberry came on and said the Roddenberrys would match Foundation, I think, maybe, but they would match up to $30,000 raised. There were no goals. I asked John once, he said, we'll just be happy to make what we do, but we want to get all we can. And basically before as the 8 hours was ending, they hit 30,000. Well, if you go to the site now, I hope a lot of you were there, but here's the thing. If you weren't there Saturday, boom, there's the basic site. You can go. I'm looking at it right now. They got to Rod's matching goal of 30,000 as they were ending. They were actually at 31,000, I think, as they went off the air Saturday evening, which meant that they had 61,000 to show. Well, you could give for a few days. It's still an active link. You can still use the donate now button here, and it will count. It will count towards you. Of course, it's tax deductible. Hollywood Food Coalition's at 501c3. So it is tax deductible for all the donors if you deduct. But since the 31,000 Saturday night, they have creeped up to, which is actually when I did mine after, but they are up to 73,000, which means that even subtracting Rod's matching grant there of 30, that means 43,000 has come in from fan groups, which is amazing. There's talk about doing this annually. So we'll see about all that. But the whole event, the whole vibe, the feel goodness of it really gets back to, well, of course, it's Star Trek. As many vendors will tell you at a Comic-Con, Star Trek is the nicest fandom there is out there. And I know everybody, and this continues to happen, even in recent weeks and months, everybody who has ever been, come up on the short end of an encounter online in something in the name of Star Trek fandom, might differ with me. If you've had a bum experience out there, if you've come a cropper of a bad experience in what somebody would call Star Trek fandom, probably in an online way, or even just gone down a rat hole in a dark way, I'm thinking some of that is passing. I'm hoping the high point of that was 3 or 4 years ago when Discovery was first out. Toxic fandom online, toxic, all that. And yeah, there's still some folks that they don't like Discovery, which is fine, but they got to tell you about it 24/7. And they just got to sit there. Like they sat there for 20 years saying that DS9 was indecipherable and you couldn't keep up with it. That was a prevailing view of people who never gave it a second chance a year later. And that's human nature, I know. And a lot of that's the same with Discovery. But if you're going to sit in that place, okay, number one, you could go revisit it. Number two, you don't have to proclaim it 24/7. And number three, you don't have to go chase people down who do enjoy, because they might be a little more up to date than you are. Now, my crowd here today, I respect everybody's opinions. I hope you do too, when they are respectfully put forward. And that's not the issue here today. What I'm trying to get back to is events like Saturday show, just like it is when you actually go to a live event. Remember those live events? When you actually go to a live event and see Star Trek fandom in the face, this 10%, 20% toxic onlineness, which I think has been receding anyway, it disappears. Where is this in live? And some of that's just the old liberation of people feeling anonymous and feeling like they can say whatever they say. And we've seen a lot of unmasking, sadly, on all kinds of fronts. People feeling like they can come out of their rocks and do anything. I hope we continue to get a handle on that. But this event Saturday shows the heart of Star Trek. And even to the point of, sidebar, January 17th, people were all set to celebrate. I know this is a little bit adjacent. I think it's going to be forever to the detriment of Rick Berman and Alex Kurtzman. So far, they never found a way to get Betty White into Star Trek. Can't you just see her as some old admiral, some young admiral, I should watch my adjectives, being crusty or otherwise deliciously, smiling through your teeth? Either Admiral Sue Ann or Admiral Rose would have been really great. Or a third one that we never mentioned. So the 100th birthday that Betty White was preparing to celebrate, and then she missed by, 17 days? People came up with the hashtag Betty White Challenge. To her, of course, passion cause was animals and animal rescue and animal welfare. And people took it upon themselves, not just Star Trek, but the whole globe, took it upon themselves to make donations in her name under the Betty White Challenge to their local animal, rescue, their animal effort, their whatever. But it dawned on me that as a Star Trek fan, and I know I got into this late in the day with it, because of, thank you, Dr. Culber, Winston had a great tweet about reminding Trek folks about it. And then I thought, we've got someone that is not around to tell this in a fresh way, but we have a Star Trek notable. I would even say icon, who was very much about animal causes and animal rescue and adoption, especially the last 20, 30 years of his life. My own near and dear DeForest Kelley. And in fact, when he died, his favorite charity, his favorite cause was the North Shore Animal League. They established a memorial fund for Dee when he died. And then when Carolyn passed, it's now the Dee and Carolyn Kelley Memorial Fund at North Shore Animal League. So I know it's been a day now. And I know you probably may have already given to one. But if you're still wanting to, first of all, honor Betty White with the Betty White Challenge, hashtag Betty White Challenge, and at the same time do something very Trekkish, and you've got nothing local that you already have, I'm going to put out North Shore out there because a year or two ago, they reactivated his fund and it is still very much alive. And you can read all about their site. This will get you to their site as well as the funds. You know, the memorial gifts, please make memorial gifts in the name of. Well, North Shore was his memorial gift when Dee died in June 1999. So this is the real deal. And I just thought yesterday it was a great way to, I know this is Trekland Tuesday's Monday, but I thought it was a great way to jump in on the Betty White Challenge and honor Dee and have a little trek in your Sue Ann and Rose. And I can't think of her name from Hot in Cleveland. Anyway, I wanted to pass that along, both as an idea that got a little bit of a late start, but also, tell on myself. I don't know about you, but it takes events like Saturday. It takes moments, opportunities like the one I just described here with overlapping the Betty White Challenge with Dee's Memorial Fund at North Shore. I don't know about you, but there are times when, yes, what do? I get all into the what made Star Trek something more than just a passing fancy for me when I encountered it. Everybody has their Star Trek moment. Everybody has their, oh my God. And for me, of course, it was the universe and it was the world building. And it was I've never seen anything this amazing before, where week to week to week, it's 99% the same thing. And I knew deep down that it meant something. I knew deep down that it made sense, which was its greatest flaw to me. I've said this before. The aspirational, future-looking, tech-geeky neatness of Star Trek. I was like, well, yeah. It's like, well, yeah, that's Star Trek. If I didn't care about any of that, I wouldn't spend my time on it. So of course. And then everything that happened since then, for that incredible continuity, I wanted to know who was making it and why they did this and not that. But everybody wants to hear about the stars and the guy that created it. Okay, fine. But there's 50 or 100 other people here that are putting their 2 cents in on this. And that little tiny thing you're digging for was also made by somebody else who's not getting much attention. So it was both sides of the street, what you saw and why. And that's what propelled me all the years. And the fact that it was in the future and everybody respected each other and there was no prejudice. It was like, well, yeah, that's Star Trek. Well, yeah. And I said this more than once, even Dee's passing, Gene's passing, there was something about Leonard, of all things, in 2016 that was just a slap in the face. And aside from illuminating Dee, I think I blog posted about this back in the day because that was before Tuesday's Live. It took Leonard's passing to make me realize how much I had taken for granted all these years and that those things need to be said out loud. And I know for some people, that's their mainstream. That's their main jam with Star Trek, to the point where we had good-hearted fans in the big Discovery debut season kerfluffle who could care less about touchscreens and smart holocoms. And they could care less about fans that was their main beef because they were just so thrilled to have something aspirational, representational again on TV. And I got it. And that was also a healthy dose of education about, Star Trek's diversity. Occurs diversity in many ways. And that's one of. But yeah, my niche, my rut, my groove will always be about the people that make it and what they're making and how it's amazing in 55 years. We don't reboot Star Trek every 2 years the way some comic universes do, unless you're a franchise like Doctor Who that is the rebooting is in the DNA. But even then there are some overarching arches. Anyway, all this to say that not only is it a feel-good moment on the surface for all the people that jumped in, professionals and fans, and for the good that this is going to do, affecting hundreds of thousands. I think John said that each meal cost them $4, to 250,000 meals but also they're getting into sidebar services, health checks, some just organizational things for a lot of the folks that come in for the meal. They have no barriers. It's there. The ripple effect of that in the name of Star Trek. And even, hey, even if you're giving to the Betty White Challenge in the name of D, like I did at North Shore, or whatever you're doing with your local, that's as much a big a part of Star Trek as it is. And of course, we all intellectually know that. But some doofuses like me take it for granted. Well, yeah, that's Star Trek. Yeah. But it's good for us to know that. And you know what? It's good for the rest of the world to know that. I'm not trying to put Star Trek and its fandom on a pedestal here above everybody else. But it is unique. And I know, I didn't say this, but I love talking to vendors at Comic-Cons where everything is represented. And if there's enough of a Star Trek representation in the guest list or the panel programming, that Star Trek fans are there to a degree. They're not the tiny sliver, say, before 2016 that usually happen. But they're there in some degree. And the old timers, the longtime vendors will tell you that, Star Trek fans are the nicest fans. And I don't say that to pat us on the back. I'm just saying it's a fact, but it's also the DNA of the thing. And sometimes we all take that for granted in different ways. Probably not as much as me. So yeah, at the same time, some incredible things happening Saturday. And again, I can't give kudos enough to everybody and letting me jump in to moderate 1 hour. I got into it late. We'll have to do better next year. It was take a step back and remember what this is all about. And right now, when there are so many doing without because of a pandemic, there are so many doing without even before the pandemic. And there are so many people in this country, in our country, in the States, much less around the globe, who are on the edges, who are doing without because somebody else is basically taking too much. Or there's a divide and conquer mentality where, Afghanistan right now is in collapse because the channels of food and aid distribution aren't trusted or have collapsed themselves. That's a crisis that I was just reading about. But there's always something happening in the world. We're never free of this. We're not in Gene's world. We're 2 years away from the sanctuary districts, by God, much less post-World War III. I know. There are times when I wish canon wasn't happening. Can we have Prime be not us? Oh, we will get there. From my lip to the great bird's ears. For right now, in this moment, it's good to be reminded of the good that Star Trek can do in a world that needs all the good it can get, even as we enjoy the entertainment and the thoughtfulness of the fact that so many are sprung to organize, the fact that so many people are moved to help, and so much of the fact that is attached to the Star Trek world. And when you hear new actors, and yes, writers and directors and second assistant craft persons, when you hear anybody who ever got a paycheck from Star Trek, of all the work they've done, whether they will be marked with it for life or it's just one of 100 things. Aside from the fact that those are the folks who are marvel as they go into retirement, that of everything they've ever done in their life, it's Star Trek people want to talk about. Those same people up and down the line will all say, if there's anything in their life they're proud to be associated with, it's Star Trek. Panner used to be, of all the things I could be involved with, how can you do better than Star Trek as a professional? Again, not trying to toot our horn here or pat our fandom on the back or say our fandom's better than everybody else. But sometimes I just want to say the proof's in the pudding. And thank God so many fandoms do so many other wonderful things. From the local clubs that adopt a highway on the highway side to what they're doing locally in their own communities. And of course, that's been a hallmark of organized clubs and organized chapters over the years. The fan cons have almost always had a charity of some kind local, which is not only, a good feel-good thing for your community, but it's also a good way to get respect in the days when fandom did not always have respect. It was hard to argue with people. All the years we had ThunderCon back in OKC, there was a group called Infant Crisis Services. And for most of our existence, that was our charity of choice, Infant Crisis Services. They helped any families that had kids 2 and under with the materials they need, with diapers and formula and, assistance. especially when in crisis. And you can go down the line, or they team up with, if actors bring in a charity. So if the history's been there, and it's not just history, it's ongoing and here. And some of you may be actively doing this week to week. Your group, your page, your club may be doing something every week and every month. And this isn't just a random thing for you, and that's awesome. And that's also part of the DNA of fandom, too. I'm just saying, it's good to highlight that at times. That's another ripple effect that, good Lord, when Lucy and those Desilu and those NBC execs let Gene do a pilot and then let Gene do a second pilot and then picked up this wacky show. And then when Paramount didn't throw away the key and shut the thing down when Gene couldn't afford to buy it himself, money talks, but it's amazing the ripple effects still to this day that come out of those decisions. As with everything around the world, I know the butterfly effect does not exist in a vacuum, but that's what we talk about here. And that's what we're talking about this week. And I hope as this year gets going, we all feel some kind of new normal for the better. That's one thing I hope does not go away, like there's any danger in that. Because we're still going to have plenty of trying times ahead. And in whatever slice of life, existence, culture, whatever we have, there will always be someone in need, someone with a hand up. And I think there'll be somebody from Star Trek involved in trying to help those about them. All right. Now, something I did not announce that I meant to do is an unannounced unboxing. Yes, or an unfoldering. This is actually a item that's been on sale since January 4th. It got buried, but I wanted to make sure and do this on camera. So unboxings are great. So here we go. This is and of course the cord immediately tears. So here we go. All righty. Yeah, we're safe. All right. How do I do this? You ready for this? Boom. Yep. The Book of Grudge. I think you all have heard about this. This is so much fun. No, it's not. It's not your ultimate guide to all 470,000 hours of Star Trek, because that would bring back the notion of a phone book. And those are scary for a lot of people. Books like this, and by the way, this is another a great little book from Rob Perlman. The Book of Grudge is, yeah, it's lightweight, but it is so much fun. And for everybody, I mean, what better market than to, I'm not showing the pictures off well. There we go. So, I mean, there's canon in here. There's hardcore facts. Do you see that warp drive? Do you see that Cleveland Booker Discovery? Sure. Well, it's the Book of Grudge. I think it's the world according to Grudge. The Queen. If you're not watching Discovery, this will all be past you, I know. But this is a cutie. So what better way, just as a marketing thing, what better way of the Venn diagram of audiences to take Star Trek fans and cat people and overlap it? It's a whole new venue. It's a whole new entree for the cat world to come find Star Trek and find Discovery. But you know what I love? It's wonderful. It's from our friends at Hero Collector. So yay, Ben, yay, everybody. Same folks that do the collectible ships. They're launching into this, and the white cover, The Book of Grudge, as told by New York Times bestselling author Rob Perlman. Rob's done like 7 books. He's the one that did the Little Red Shirts guide, Fun with Kirk and Spock. He's done a lot of these fun little books. The other cool thing about this is, now stop and put your Trekland Tuesdays Live Big Boy business hat on. Seeing the ultimate guide to 800 hours of Star Trek in 55 years can be scary or just blinding to your innocent person strolling in a bookstore. I think they still have brick and mortar stores. If not that, then Amazon, online ordering rows of books you might also be interested in. But this is the one that's not only going to overlap categories in the analytics that are showing up for online bookers. If you're actually an old school bookstore browser, bookstores are making a little bit of a comeback. If we can just get the damn Omicron out of the way. It's Omicron, by the way, but I love saying Omnicron because it's like saying nuclear. It's a great way to catch people's eye who aren't looking for Star Trek. It's that Venn diagram works visually too in live action in real time. And I wonder how many cat people who weren't Star Trek fans might just come over to Star Trek because of Grudge. If we had marketed Spot like this back in the day, who knows? Who knows? It's a fun little book. I just wanted to get it out there. So congrats, everybody. Hero Collector. Congrats to Rob. It has been on sale since the 4th. This is it. It is hardback. There's a lot of cute stuff here. But again, if you've got a cat person that you want to give a delayed gift, or hey, I understand people have birthdays all year long, give this to the cat person on your list that's not quite a Star Trek, or maybe they're like Star Trek curious. Maybe it's just the thing to bring them over to the fold too. Or if they're just a general animal lover. It's a cute move for Star Trek, and it's a cute move. Someday we're going to totally get the history of Grudge, the DNA of Grudge in Discovery out there and see. Discovery, the Book of Grudge by Rob Perlman. Just wanted to unbox that and talk about it. If you're on YouTube and leaving us at the moment, just want to say, number one, thanks to all of our Livewire folks. Our Livewires are TTLers, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, and Blaze K. And yes, our Livewires, Rusty Harrell, Halbert Goodjohnson, Jalen Bullock, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, our newest, and Casey Shafsky. If you want to jump in on my Patreon, it's going to be a building year, I think, here on our streams. Tuesdays live, you go to my patreon.com, Trekland Live. It's $5, $10 a month. They take it out at the end of the month to get a shout out and access to the first couple of years of Portal behind the scenes interviews that have just been sitting in the archive. And yeah, they've mostly still been sitting in the archive. Just a quick reminder, I'll get them there. I'll get them to you. Again, Saturday is going to be another Life Support Live. We've been back 2 weeks in a row now from our holiday break, and Dr. Ali and Dr. Trek, one of us, is a real doctor, knocking it down with all of the lifers Saturday at 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. I'd love for you to join us. We have a great community there, just like we do here. The Trek Files is still on hiatus. You can catch all the old episodes. Anything you missed, we're coming up on our 4th year. We started in 2018. This is our 8th season when we come back in February, with a couple of new twists. When we talk to you later, check out the past ones right now and all the podcasts at podcast.roddenberry.com. Overall, if you're looking for me online, right here where you are right now is where we have the Trekland Network. All the Larry Nemecek's Trekland channels. I'm just Larry Nemecek on Twitter because I get into everything there. Portal47.net, again, is where you go to check out Portal, where no savvy fan has gone before. It's like a mini-con all year long. How's that for a Tuesday live in January? Hey, everybody. For those of you who might be leaving us now, stay healthy. Do all the things. We're not quite out of the woods yet. We can get there if everybody does all the things. Stay woke. By that I mean, check your sources. Be open to the information no one ever bothered to tell you. Still happens every week. Most of all, trek well, everybody.